The year 2018 marked the beginning of a trade war that continues to reverberate through the global economy. The United States, under the Trump administration, imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. These tariffs, essentially taxes on imports, aim to protect American industries and jobs from what the administration deemed unfair trade practices by China. China, in turn, retaliated with tariffs of its own on American goods, escalating the conflict. The initial rounds of tariffs targeted industrial goods and machinery. However, the conflict soon expanded to encompass a wider range of products, including consumer goods, agricultural products, and technology components. This escalation created uncertainty for businesses on both sides of the Pacific. American companies that relied on Chinese imports faced rising costs. Chinese companies that exported goods to the U.S. market struggled with declining demand. The stated goal of the tariffs was to reduce the trade deficit between the U.S. and China, and to pressure China to change its trade practices. The U.S. government argued that China was engaging in intellectual property theft, forced technology transfer, and currency manipulation, all of which put American businesses at a disadvantage. China denied these allegations and maintained that its trade practices were fair. Despite several rounds of negotiations, the trade war persisted. The tariffs imposed in 2018 remain largely in effect today, with some adjustments and exemptions made along the way. The Biden administration, while acknowledging the need to address China's trade practices, has also expressed concerns about the economic impact of the tariffs on American businesses and consumers. The tariffs on Chinese goods have had a wide-ranging impact on American businesses, creating both winners and losers. Some domestic industries, such as steel and aluminum, have benefited from the protection afforded by the tariffs. They have seen increased demand and production as American companies shifted their sourcing away from Chinese suppliers. However, many other businesses have felt the sting of the tariffs in the form of increased costs. Companies that rely on Chinese imports for raw materials, components, or finished goods have faced higher prices, squeezing their profit margins. Small businesses, in particular, have struggled to absorb these increased costs, as they often lack the bargaining power of larger corporations. The tariffs have also disrupted supply chains that have been built up over decades of globalization. Companies have had to scramble to find alternative suppliers, often at a higher cost or with longer lead times. This disruption has created uncertainty and delays, making it difficult for businesses to plan and operate efficiently. Consumers have also felt the impact of the tariffs in the form of higher prices for a wide range of goods, from washing machines and refrigerators to clothing and electronics. These price increases have eroded consumer purchasing power, potentially slowing economic growth. The manufacturing sector has been particularly hard hit by the tariffs. Many American manufacturers rely on Chinese suppliers for raw materials, components, and even finished goods. The tariffs have increased the cost of these inputs, making it more expensive to produce goods in the United States. Some manufacturers have responded to the tariffs by raising prices, passing the increased costs on to consumers. Others have absorbed the higher costs, squeezing their profit margins. Still, others have sought to diversify their supply chains, moving production away from China to other countries such as Vietnam, Mexico, or even back to the United States. However, shifting supply chains is a complex and costly endeavor. It requires finding new suppliers, negotiating contracts, and potentially investing in new facilities or equipment. In some cases, it may not even be possible to find alternative suppliers that can meet the quality and quantity demands of American manufacturers. The tariffs have created uncertainty for the manufacturing sector, making it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. Some companies have delayed investments or expansion plans, while others have scaled back production or even laid off workers. The retail sector has also been caught in the crossfire of the trade war. Retailers that source goods from China have faced higher prices for everything from clothing and footwear to electronics and home goods. These higher costs have put pressure on retailers to raise prices, potentially dampening consumer demand. However, retailers are also wary of raising prices too much, as they don't want to alienate price-sensitive consumers. This has left many retailers walking a tightrope, trying to balance the need to protect their profit margins with the desire to keep prices competitive. Some retailers have attempted to mitigate the impact of the tariffs by absorbing some of the increased costs themselves, reducing their profit margins. Others have sought to negotiate lower prices with their Chinese suppliers. Still, others have looked for alternative sourcing options such as Vietnam, Bangladesh, or Mexico. The tariffs have created a challenging environment for retailers, forcing them to make difficult decisions about pricing, sourcing, and inventory management. Section 5. Agriculture's harvest of uncertainty, retaliation, and shifting markets. The agricultural sector, a vital part of the American economy, has also been affected by the trade war. China is a major market for American agricultural products, such as soybeans, pork, and corn. However, China's retaliatory tariffs on American agricultural goods have significantly reduced exports, leaving American farmers with surpluses and lower prices. To mitigate the impact on farmers, the U.S. government has provided billions of dollars in subsidies. While these subsidies have provided some relief, they have not fully offset the losses incurred by farmers. The tariffs have disrupted long-standing trade relationships and forced farmers to seek new markets for their products. The tariffs have also created uncertainty for the agricultural sector, making it difficult for farmers to plan for the future. Some farmers have delayed investments in new equipment or land, while others have been forced to sell their farms altogether. Section 6. Tech's Tangled Web. Navigating disruptions in a globalized industry. The technology sector, a globalized industry with complex supply chains, has not been immune to the effects of the trade war. Many American tech companies rely on Chinese manufacturers for the production of components and the assembly of finished products, such as smartphones, laptops, and networking equipment. The tariffs have increased the cost of these components and finished products, putting pressure on tech companies to raise prices or accept lower profit margins. Some companies have sought to diversify their supply chains, moving production to other countries. However, as with manufacturing, shifting supply chains is a complex and costly endeavor. The tariffs have also raised concerns about innovation in the tech sector. China is a major player in areas such as artificial intelligence and 5G wireless technology. The trade war has led to restrictions on the flow of technology and investment between the United States and China, which could stifle innovation in both countries. Section 7. The price of protectionism, economic costs and household impacts. The trade war has come at a cost to the American economy. Economists estimate that the tariffs have cost American businesses and consumers billions of dollars per year. These costs come in the form of higher prices for consumer goods, increased input costs for businesses, and lost export sales. One study by the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimated that the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration would cost the average American household $1,000 per year. The study also found that the tariffs would reduce United States economic output by 0.5% by 2020. The tariffs have also contributed to higher inflation. While inflation is a complex issue with multiple contributing factors, the tariffs have undoubtedly played a role by increasing the cost of imported goods. This has forced the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates more aggressively to combat inflation, which could potentially slow economic growth. Section 8. A delicate balancing act, trade, politics, and the global economy. The trade war between the United States and China is not just an economic issue, it is also a geopolitical one. The two countries are vying for global influence and are increasingly at odds over issues such as trade, technology, and human rights. The Biden administration has taken a more measured approach to China than the Trump administration, but it has also made it clear that it views China as a strategic competitor. The administration has maintained most of the tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, arguing that they are necessary leverage to address China's unfair trade practices. However, the Biden administration has also expressed a willingness to engage with China on issues of mutual interest. The two countries have held several rounds of trade talks, but progress has been slow. The Biden administration has said that it is not seeking a full-blown trade deal with China but rather a decoupling of the two economies. The trade war has highlighted the complex and intertwined nature of the global economy. It has also underscored the challenges of balancing economic interests with geopolitical concerns. Section 9. An uncertain future. Charting a course through trade tensions. The future of the trade war between the United States and China remains uncertain. The tariffs imposed in 2018 remain largely in effect, and there is no clear end in sight to the trade dispute. The Biden administration has signaled its willingness to engage with China, but has also indicated that it will not back down from its demands for fair trade practices. The trade war has had a significant impact on the global economy, disrupting supply chains, increasing costs for businesses and consumers, and fueling inflation. It has also created uncertainty and volatility in financial markets. The outcome of the trade war will have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. A resolution of the dispute could lead to increased trade and investment, boosting economic growth. However, a protracted trade war could further damage the global economy, leading to a slowdown in growth or even a recession. The trade war is a reminder of the importance of international cooperation and the need for a rules-based trading system. It is also a reminder that economic issues and geopolitical concerns are often intertwined, and that finding solutions to complex global challenges requires careful diplomacy and a willingness to compromise.